Kept your coffee cup on my nightstand. Not to reminisce, just a reminder to never go back to a life we shared. Anytime I'm feeling the urge to look.
One, two. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it, my words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it, you know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly, we ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all, peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah, come on. Hey.
It's August 24th, 2023, and this is the PHP Ugly Podcast, episode 349. If this is your first time listening or watching us, welcome. This is a podcast that focuses on the PHP programming language and its surrounding community. We are three real-world developers who make a living and run a business using the PHP programming language. Using focus on PHP. Something like that. We live stream every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Pacific time. And you too can be part of that live stream by joining us in our Discord channel at discord.phpugly.com. All show long, they participate. You see their stream alongside our video on the YouTube channel. And they hang out there all week long. Some great conversations go on. We are, let's see, if you're watching us live, stick around for the after show. We have a lot of back and forth after the show's over, things that we don't particularly like to release on the audio podcasts. The show's made a little better thanks to a few of our sponsors, honeybadger.io, PHPStorm, and PHP Architect, as well as our fantastic supporters on Patreon. And we're going to talk about all of them a little later on the show. For now, let me kick things off. I am your humble host, Eric, and with me tonight is my good friend, John.
Hello. I was just trying to stumble a little bit.
And Tom.
I am 6'3", 215 pounds.
You look fantastic.
Thank
you.
you.
Look as sharp there. Did you go to the doctor today or something?
No, I was incarcerated.
No, that makes much more sense. Actually much easier to believe than you went to the doctor.
Is there something around this 6'3" thing that you brought up?
Oh, have you not seen it?
Seen what?
That in Georgia, Trump was arrested and gave his height and weight as 6'3", 215 pounds.
No.
Oh,
which
no.
is an odd number for someone who looks like the front half of a centaur.
I mean, he carries all 215 in the front of his belly.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, no, we don't do a lot of political stuff, but boy, what a weird day.
Nope, completely missed that. I figured the way you said it, there had to be a backstory there that I was missing.
So the social network, formerly known as Twitter, right now is exploding with people who are 6'3", posting pictures of themselves and their weights and comparing it to equivalents, pictures of somebody who couldn't have more than a gram of hair on his head total. And it's mostly basketball players, but it's bizarre. There was a previous arraignment 2 months ago. He listed himself as 6'1", 240 pounds. Not sure how in his age he has gained height and lost weight, but I would love that program.
Yeah, I just don't care. I wish I had more input, but I'm excited. But it will be nice to see if the U.S. judicial system actually does get applied.
Sure. No, the saying like no one is above the law would be great to actually put to a test. And I am deeply afraid that if we fail the test, it gets worse. If we pass the test, maybe we get back to like a modicum of normal. But if we fail that test that no one is above the law, like that puts our country in a dark place.
Yep, I agree.
So that's all for politics. Sorry I brought it up.
Eric, you brought up Discord, but you didn't mention the Discord bot that hangs out in there as well during the show that takes your title suggestions, and it's been a running joke recently. A Woods in Discord is the undisputed king of titles during the show. Buttery Crumpets is back and is trying to dethrone A Woods. But if you want to help dethrone A Woods, join us in Discord. ! Or bang title. Give us a title suggestion and help us dethrone A Woods.
Yes, A Woods does
definitely
have a knack
going.
Knack for it, doesn't he?
All right, gentlemen. Attention.
How has everybody's week been? Tom, let's start with you in your spiffy new outfit.
Spiffy new outfit. It's been a weird week. My wife got COVID, and I managed to get something else. Not COVID. Tested myself several times. Just common flu or whatever it might be. And you know how it is when you miss a day because you're sick or something like that, and it's like you feel a week behind the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it so much. So, playing a lot of catch up, or at least in my mind, playing a lot of catch up, and dealing with being on call at the same time. We have an on call rotation, and it just turned out that last Thursday was the start of my first on call rotation, and I did not necessarily know what to do.
What does your on call consist of?
So mostly git blame. Our on call is basically like problem shows up, it hits the on call, it has a priority level, and you pull up the code, find out who committed that thing, how recently, and decide if they're the one responsible for it, or if not, dig further down, find out where the new issue was introduced that produced the alert. So it's really just you're just the weather vane. You point to the person who has to take care of it, but you're the first alert for it.
You don't try to take care of it quickly. It's more of a get somebody else first.
You just triage it?
So
That's not even triaging if you're just git blaming.
That's true.
My instinct is fix it myself, push it out. And every time I have followed that instinct, it has gotten worse, not better.
Oh, I know that feeling.
That's
Right?
no good.
No, it's no good, but like from my experience, like you want to just fix it and get in there, but it's always an edge case. It's always something that the original developer was like, yeah, I know. It was in the back of my head and I didn't think it would happen. And you're not going to know the edge case. You're not going to understand why it's happening. So your Band-Aid is usually worse than an actual proper fix. So depending on the level of the alert, if it's a 4 alarm, then you might have to wake up operations, roll back a commit. You might have to start doing some heavy lifting. But really, on call is just gather the heavy lifters and tell them this is an actual issue. So it's a mailroom kind of job.
Gotcha. I understand if you can't share this information. I don't know if we've ever asked
I've already said
you
it.
before.
215 pounds.
But how big is the application you work on? Are you responsible for everything on the web? And if so, is it just one app or are there multiple apps?
I would say it is a monolith. And that one of the recent errors I had occurred on line roughly 1445 of a single file.
I love those files.
We
That is not solid by any means.
we have a choice selection of well-aged files.
All vanilla PHP?
That I actually won't get into.
Okay.
But I will say that it's just when you come into an environment that has been a .com since the mid-aughts, you're going to encounter a lot of PHP that is programmed from the mid-aughts with the same styles and the same syntaxes, and it is it can be very difficult to troubleshoot. Thankfully, Git Blame has an excellent inline integration into PHPStorm.
Oh, I so badly want to learn that you have PHP 5 code as hard as we wrote John about how long it took them to get off PHP 4. I need this.
I still have PHP 5 code in production.
John, I'm trying. I wasn't pointing fingers at you, man.
But it's
All I will say is that some of our code would run on PHP 4.
That's fair. All right. Well, let me take a moment here
I tried to give you a nice segue to PHPStorm.
I do
caught
appreciate that. And let's take a moment and thank our fantastic sponsor, JetBrains PhpStorm. Hello, listener. This is Eric, the host of PHP Ugly, and it's really me, not some AI-generated voice, because I care about you, the listener, and think you deserve a real read of one of our sponsors. And that's what this is. Here at PHP Ugly, we are genuinely excited and happy to have JetBrains PhpStorm as a sponsor. We all use PhpStorm every day, and it makes development easier and fun. PhpStorm is a cutting-edge IDE tailored for PHP and web developers. Whether you're a professional PHP developer or a hobbyist working on personal side projects, there's never been a better time to check it out, or maybe to check it out again with a slick, clean new UI, blazing fast speed enhancements, and a richer toolkit that's transforming the way you code. Code like a professional. Visit JetBrains today at jetbrains.com/PHPStorm and kick off your 30-day free trial to start coding smarter, not harder. Now, back to the show. Thank you,
PHPStorm.
That's how you do it.
Good job, Eric.
That's how you do
That's
it.
literally not how you do it.
That's, what do you mean? That's exactly how I literally did that one.
The pauses between sentences is where I can really pick up on it.
Are you telling me right now you think that was AI?
Yes, I know it was.
It was absolutely not AI. That was 100% me.
That is plug-in in the audio cleanup thing that took out some pauses.
Yeah. I definitely cut all the spaces,
ums and buts,
the silence. Yeah.
Really? I thought that was AI.
I
was
that's a
sure.
compliment?
I was sure.
Maybe an insult? I'm not sure anymore.
It could go either way.
It's funny. I thought for a hot minute, I'm like, you know what? I should have videotaped myself doing that read because Tom is not going to think that was me. He's going to give me a hard time saying that was the AI. And I'm like, nah, because I listened to it again. I'm like, nah, that sounds way too different than the AI. Because I had played for you the AI version.
Your initial AI version was terrible, but I thought you had like refined
more
it
training.
somehow.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I can definitely see why you think. Well, then again, compliment, insult. I don't even know anymore. But
Yeah.
thanks. If you're trying to catch up with this conversation, last
couple of weeks, right?
Last couple weeks, yeah, actually. But last week specifically, these two knuckleheads were supposed to give me reads for
I thought you
their
were joking.
ads. Absolutely not joking. 100% still waiting for those.
Well, no, because you used
when
like,
they
the
didn't
TikTok voice for one of them, and we all violently reacted to it.
When they didn't get me the reads, I did some AI training on their voices and created AI versions of the reads. They still complained, but you don't see them giving me reads, do you? No, you don't. I think what I need to do is every week make the reads increasingly like more embarrassing for them. Maybe that's what I'll do. But kind of along those same lines, I got to spend some time this week with fucking Steve, and he got me kind of up to speed on Midjourney and how to properly use Midjourney to create images. Because I was like, I kept trying to do it, and I was creating the worst images, like unusable. I'm like, this is like horrible. This doesn't even look anything like what I asked it to create. And Steve took some time because he wrote an article. He's written a couple articles for us now where he generated artwork for his article using Midjourney. And I'm like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? And he's like, yeah, let's jump on the call. So that was fun and also very addictive. Like I have been just generating all these different images. It's like you've got to train yourself to do it, like to be good at it. Like I'm still finding like the little secrets, and I'm very novice. I can feel it. I can see it in the images that I generate compared to like what I see other people generate. But I'm getting there. Like I'm getting there very quickly.
Tim Lytle's good at it too. I've seen a couple of ones he's generated recently, and I was like, I need to learn that.
Yeah,
it's like a skill in of itself.
It is. It's a data set thing too. Like you have to learn how to create your own custom data sets, which is really the key to getting exactly what you want.
What do you mean by that?
So one of the things that I don't know if you guys follow Corridor Crew, but they've gotten very good at their own faces and taking large models, but training these large models on their own content. So
okay, can I pause you for a quick second? It's weird that you said that because whenever my images did a what's called a blend, where I was trying to feed it our images so that it would generate images for us, like of us in our thumbnails. And like every time it created a person, it looked like somebody from that YouTube channel, Corridor
Crew.
Yeah, Corridor Crew. It looked like one of them. I'm like, I swear to God, this is those YouTubers. I think they've hijacked the engine and they've just overloaded it with training of their own faces.
Your kid's wondering if you're trying to replace them.
Okay,
what?
Champ is on timeout now.
Your kid was wondering if you're trying to replace them in the thumbnail generation.
Champ, I told you to see the doctor about that. He'll give you a couple shots. You'll be fine.
So these are all LLMs, large language models, and they learn based off of the content that you feed into them.
Well, no, see, I don't want to call you out on that. All right, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
The trick is to give it a list of very explicitly defined content to train off of. This is Tom. This is Eric. This is John. Video works really well for that if you just upload large amounts of video.
I'm not sure if Midjourney works like that. It might. I'm not to that stage. Maybe I tried to leapfrog things a little bit. I was trying to get Midjourney to include our images, our faces on images, but that just went sideways. What was horrifying is it was combining all of our faces into one face. And that person looked better than any of us. Like it was a very handsome individual. Like all together, we make a pretty good look. All three of us should just have a baby together. Nice looking dude, but as individuals, not so much.
Yeah.
But at this stage, the stage I'm at right now, in what Steve worked with me on, is prompts. Like understanding. It's same thing with ChatGPT. Understanding how to ask a question to ChatGPT is the same thing with Midjourney. Understanding how to explain in the prompt what it is you want an image of, and then kind of massaging that and tweaking it and making it better, because you can build off of an image. Like you say, hey, get me a elephant in a cyberpunk city, and it might generate something that's like, all right, that's close, but no, and then you just have it regenerate, and because it gives you options. It like does like 4, and you can pick one to kind of upscale and then create more off of that one. So that's where I'm at, just like the prompt stage, like trying to understand how I have to talk to it, because I've gotten pretty good with ChatGPT. And let me tell you something, I'm using ChatGPT lately like crazy. Not so much for programming, but like Google Sheets. I am doing so much with Google Sheets now that I never knew I could do by just asking ChatGPT, hey, if I want to do this in Google Sheets, is this possible? And it's like, oh yeah, sure. Just, create this formula and this and that. And I'm like, oh, righty. And so
And now I got to see
that's,
what you're doing.
yeah, the
Well,
client we have, John, I have been failing because we have moved a lot of our workflow over to Notion, PHP architect team. Even our workflow that involves other clients that have their own systems in place, but those systems weren't really conducive to development. And so it's been like this back and forth with them and negotiating, like, let us do these parts in Notion, and then, we'll do these parts, over here in your ticketing system. And it hasn't been great, but the where was I going with all that? Oh, so specifically what I did today was I was supposed to be generating reports for this client based on all the project information that we have in Notion. And I wasn't happy with the way Notion was generating reports. It was just like this frustrating thing. It's like, that's not what I wanted. It just wasn't looking right. So eventually I started dumping it to CSV files and sharing it with the client. And eventually the client's like, yeah, these are the columns I want. This is fine. But I was still frustrated because it's like, the biggest thing is like statuses. Our statuses in Notion are words, right? It's like, draft, started, in progress, like that. But when it's exported to a CSV, there's no way to sort that properly. Like, it only sorts alphabetically or A to Z. So if it's letters, it's alphabetical. Numbers, it's numerical.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's not what I want. And that's one of the things that ChatGPT helped me with. It explained to me how I could get it to sort the way I wanted to sort. And then the other thing was the project data was dumping too much into that cell. Like, it was giving the project name, this long link to that project in Notion. I'm like, I don't want all that. I just want the name. And again, ChatGPT is like, oh yeah, you can do find and replace with regular expression. And it gave me the regular expression to kind of only get the name of the project. And now I have a pretty decent report that I'm really happy with. And the client is also pretty happy with it. So yeah, I use ChatGPT for that, for the formulas in Notion, like the things you saw, John, with the I have that one particular one that I'm really proud of, the tracking property that lets us know if something is on target, or if it's running behind, or if it's coming due. That whole crazy formula that you can look at, a lot of that was done through the help of ChatGPT. And
interesting.
Yeah, it's really helped me out a lot with these things. And I think I've said it before in the past with you guys. It's really challenging for me sometimes to explain what it is I'm trying to do. But for whatever reason, ChatGPT, it gets me. It just gets me. I don't know. I just talk to it. I talk to it like a person, and I try to explain it like I feel like I explain it to everybody else, and it gets me. And I'm a happy guy.
Well, so I don't know if this is going to please you or upset you now, because Microsoft has announced they're integrating Python to Excel.
Oh, that pleases me. I like Python.
It's an interesting case.
But you also don't use Excel.
That's true. I don't.
So really what they're doing is they're putting like an embedded Excel, like an embedded web page as an Excel tab thing, and it can read from your local Excel library and call matplotlib or stats models and do all this sort of stuff with your data. And it doesn't run locally, which I thought was interesting. This actually takes all your data and takes your Python and throws it up on Microsoft's cloud service, their cloud processing service. So what we would consider like the AWS small runtime stuff. What do they call that?
Well, while you're thinking of that, it's funny because I'm working on a project for my wife and the kids' elementary school right now where they're going to use like QR to sheets. Just scan a QR code, it adds it to a sheet. And then I have additional sheets in there that will tally up how many laps you run. Have you earned this charm because you've ran enough laps? Have you received that charm yet? If not, you're ready to get it. But I couldn't get the reporting done the way I wanted to within Google Sheets. So I have
ChatGPT.
So I have a PHP side that reads in all the data, and it can read a lot of data really fast and then can process it. I can have it spit out reports that I can easily print the way I want them to, and then update the Google Sheet to say, okay, this kid received their charms, because we basically take, all the kids in a class and give them to the teacher. So as soon as we do that, we assume the kid got the charm, right? So it's just like, update it. Okay, they got it. And we're good to go. So
Cool.
It's not Python, but it's PHP.
You've been working
with
on
Google
this
Sheets.
relatively small project for like 3 months.
I put so little time into it. It's fun, though. Can I tell you about the...
Can somebody clip John just saying that? I put so little time into it.
It really isn't that little time. Since last week, I had fun when I caused an outage. I don't think I talked about it last week.
Okay, before you do,
Sure.
you know what helped you with that outage?
It would not have. Go for it.
Our next sponsor.
This is falling apart. This is you're backing up sponsor messages. You're stepping on segues. This is the worst episode we have ever recorded.
No,
Oh, you have not listened to our episodes, have you?
This is the
Run it. Our friends at HoneyBadger.io for sponsoring this podcast. When you're as bad of a developer as I am, monitoring your application becomes essential. I need clear, actionable intelligence on what I did wrong, not walls of charts and reams of logs to tail. That's why I use HoneyBadger, the monitoring tool we always wanted, a tool that's there when you need it and gets out of your way when you don't, so that you can keep shipping. Know when critical errors occur and which customers are affected. Respond instantly when your systems go down. Improve the health of your systems over time, and fix problems before your customers can report them. HoneyBadger is the application health monitoring tool built for you, the developer who cares about a quality product and happy customers. Be the hero of your team and sign up for a free trial and start monitoring today at honeybadger.io. Setup takes as little as 5 minutes. See what you've been missing and fix it. Once again, that's honeybadger.io. Now let's get back to the show.
John,
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Thanks,
John
Obama.
Sounds like he's trying not to breathe through his nose. His AI is like trying not to breathe through his nose.
That is definitely someone uploaded Obama and John together, and it just
yeah, they sound so much similar. NorCal kid.
So I use Honey Badger. We use Honey Badger in a lot of our projects. How I caused this outage would not have been fixed by Honey Badger, unfortunately. For some reason, one of the, I guess, white labels of our client decided they didn't want to leave voicemail automatically through the system. So that was disabled. You couldn't create a button that says, hey, leave a voicemail when I click this button. But there were buttons that existed prior to making that decision, right? And probably a year later, somebody says, "Oh, by the way, this can still happen with these people." So I said, "Oh, why don't I just delete all the buttons that have a voicemail rule attached to it?" And because somebody said the word compliance, I thought it was critical, and they said, "Yeah, go for it. Like, that's fine, just do it." Luckily, I took a backup of the data and then deleted all that data, not realizing that the way I coded this system, every button has a voicemail rule. It's just the voicemail rule says, "Don't leave a voicemail."
That's awesome.
So I basically deleted everyone's button so they'd get to the end of a call and be like, there's nothing to click. Yeah, that was not good.
Plot twist.
Brought that on myself because, again, moving fast, right? Somebody says there's a compliance issue, you want to solve it as quick as you can, and I didn't get other people's eyes on it. Big misstep. Not a good thing.
Well, that was a big thing with Twitter. Is that when Jack Dorsey owned Twitter, the motto was "move fast, break things," and it was like move fast, comma, break things. But when you move fast, things will break. It's not like move fast, but be careful. It was moving fast breaks things.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's why our procedure is take a breath. And why I got in some trouble in the last few weeks with, I did not want to put work on our QA team. I love the people I work with, and I hate giving them something where I'm like, hey, this test takes 3 days to run if you do it correctly. So here's how you hack the database so it doesn't take that long to test. And sometimes
we talked about this.
Sometimes that's fine, but sometimes it's QA's job to take 3 days to test something. And my new outlook as a developer for 20 years is when QA is given something, give them the full workload. Don't try to lighten their load. They'll have their own process for lightening their load. They'll figure out how to make things run faster, but do not try to make things easier for QA because it's their job to make things harder for you. I mean, that's
my new outlook is I really want a QA team.
It's really nice if you're willing to use the QA team you have, but it's really hard to hire somebody and say, here's all the janitorial work. You have to do it every time I push out a PR.
But that's their job.
Sure, but it's hard to do that to somebody.
No, it's
not what it's their job.
As an empathetic person, it's a hard thing for me to do. I want to make it easier, and so like show them the happy path and how to glide through it, and then I say at the end of the happy path, I'm like, here's exactly how this should operate. Here's how you should test it. And at the very end, I say, also do regression tests, which is like, okay, why did I say that? I said that because I knew I was lying.
Yeah. SoCal Kid, their new, in quotation marks, friend, is a QA person. That's what they do for a pretty big group. They do. I mean, they don't have. I don't know what they do exactly. I haven't had that long of a conversation. I don't care that much about them.
All right, I'm gonna move on then. I talked about that being a database thing. I deleted records. Destructive. It was bad. We are also in the process of trying to upgrade from MySQL 5.7 to 8. And
you have my attention.
Most things work fine on 8, but the API call to create a new contact basically would just fail. We'd end up getting a 500 error, and we're like, what the hell's going on? You'd step through the code and it does an insert of the record, And then when it gets to an update to update one of the columns, it says that column cannot be null. But you're looking at the query because you're step debugging, and the query is updating that column. And you're like, what the hell is going on? And people before me were trying to debug it, and they realized, well, if I delete the triggers on the table, it works fine. I'm like, what? That makes no sense. So I go and look, and there's two triggers. There's an before insert and an after update trigger. And I'm looking through it, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I know there's some funkiness in the way I did the triggers, and the triggers call stored procedures, but only in certain conditions. So they originally thought it was that. And I'm going through, I'm like, no, it's not that. I'm changing the triggers left and right, trying to figure out what's happening, and nothing I do is working. It keeps failing. I delete the after update trigger, still fails. I'm like, what? I delete the before insert, and it succeeds. I'm like, what? I'm doing an update. We're doing an update. The insert trigger is causing this fail. I finally continue doing research, and it was closed, but there's a MySQL bug reported for this. And they basically said, you're doing it wrong. So my assumption from reading the bug report is we're doing an insert and inserting only a few columns, like 4 or 5 columns out of however many there are there. And I think it leaves everything else in an uninitialized state. So the column is marked as not null, but it wasn't set at all. So it's uninitialized. When you go to do the update, because of the before insert trigger, it's now trying to set that column to null to finish initializing all the columns, and just fails. I don't get it. It's
Don't
weird.
understand these things.
I'm glad you've segued perfectly into my Laravel hate speech of the week.
How does that segue to Laravel?
Was that not?
First, Eric, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, before we segue off to something else?
You had me for a while, then you lost me. Like when you started talking about databases.
So basically, for me, the fix is when we insert into the table, we're just going to initialize the columns that are not nullable to an empty string or a 0, depending on what type it is. Like if it's a varchar, it's going to be an empty string.
Right.
That gets around it. I still don't fully understand the use case of how having an uninitialized field causes an update to fail because of a before insert trigger, but it does.
Yeah, that was my thing, right? It's like these are existing records, though.
That's where everyone was confused, because if you hit a breakpoint before you actually went to the database with the update, and you selected from the table, the record is there. So the insert worked fine. And you go to update, and it fails, saying column cannot be null. It made no sense.
Sounds like database bullshit to me.
Yeah. It's
very
it's an oddity.
confusing.
Without the before insert, it worked fine.
So I'm not sure if you guys are keeping up on every version of Laravel that comes out. I really try not to. But this one came up. Laravel 10.20 came out. And this drives me insane. It's one of the giant red flags I have with Laravel. On Laravel models, there's a method called first or create, where you say, I'm looking for a record that matches these parameters. If you don't find it, make a new record. right?
Mhm.
Simple, very simple. I use something very similar in my ORM. Lots of ORMs have these kinds of behaviors. Somebody,
And just in case anybody's wondering, the first aspect of that is if that record exists, select that record. If it doesn't exist, then create it.
create
And
and select the record. Yeah.
right.
So if Tom Rideout with my phone number already exists in the database, let's just assume that's the record we're looking for. A new method was introduced into Eloquent models this week called createOrFirst. So now Eloquent models have first or create and createOrFirst.
And the difference is,
Difference is
Well, there's no documentation outside of the Laravel News blog to cover what the difference is. So if you were to go to Laravel docs and try to figure out what the difference is or the API, it would not tell you. The difference is first or create looks for a record matching the values you provided.
Mhm.
Tom Rideout, my phone number. If there's a match, return it. Otherwise, create a record. createOrFirst assumes that there is a unique index on the values that you are checking. Attempts to create the record first, and if MySQL returns an error saying a key with that value already exists, then it selects that record.
so
what is the advantage? What is the proposed advantage of that?
The proposed advantage of this is race conditions in which you check for something to exist, and after you've checked that it exists, but before you have created the record, it gets created by something else. Race conditions like this are not what we would call common in PHP because of its single-threaded nature. But when we start looking at things, like Roadrunner and multi-threaded fast instances, if you double-click a button, it's possible that you could double create a record with the same values.
it's not even just those, because I'm actively fighting that right now, because with our API endpoint for a create, somebody can post twice, it goes to a worker, and then two workers spin up at the same time and do the insert. So it's it's not just a Roadrunner thing, it is a real life PHP issue.
So this is an ACID compliant thing, which if you're not familiar with databases and ACID compliance, I apologize for bringing it up to you in the first place. It's awful, but it is the worst case scenario for databases. But what a clusterfuck for an artisan framework that's going to handle a few hundred requests per minute at the most on like most applications. Or, I mean, it's createOrFirst and first or create on laravelnews.com has a 1.5-page explanation of what the difference is between the two and when you should use them. And the when you should use them part is just like, well, you'll know. And like, it's...
There's also the optimization of, you're not doing a select and then an insert, right? It's you're assuming your insert's going to work. You insert, you move on. On the off chance you get an error,
this is a huge
then
place. This is a huge place where Doctrine says, I want to know the table structure to understand what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Whereas Laravel says, you define by hand what the table structure is, and there's no way of indicating in Laravel what the indexes are, what the unique indexes are. Doctrine understands this is a unique index. If you try to double insert on something, it'll fail, because Doctrine actually reads the database, the DTL. Laravel, you can't say it's gonna fail because I indexed something over here. This is a huge departure from Laravel's standard of having all of the logic in Laravel. Now the assumption is there is logic in MySQL or Postgres or big data, whatever you're using, and when I bump into that, then do something else. This is totally a new tack for Laravel, and not voted upon, not discussed before being introduced into the framework. All the classic things I have a problem with, but in a very specific way that I can point to and say, now that's not Laravel.
But the only issue I have with it would be the documentation part of it. They didn't,
And it won't be done.
They didn't.
It won't.
I don't know that it won't, but they didn't introduce a backwards breaking change. They didn't, like, they're not sweeping the rug out from under people. It's, here is a different way to do this. If it were documented, that's one thing. We documented it. It's a micro optimization possibly, but here's what you have to be aware of. You have to have an index on your database versus, well, let me just see if the data you provided me is in there. There's a difference between the two as well, in the fact that you could have your record with your phone number and an email address that's not indexed versus you have to supply the exact record that's already there, right? Depending on how you do the insert.
If this had attributes or something associated with it in the model that said you cannot use this without defining where these indexes, like how tightly these indexes are defined, that's one thing.
But even with the first to create, you have to provide it the exact records that's there, right? Otherwise, it's going to fail, and you're going to get duplicates.
But it'll insert with a new auto-incrementing key, which is defined as part of the model.
I agree, but
you'll keep the data.
But you kept going to your name and your phone number. But if you provided any other data that didn't match exactly what's in the database, the first part is going to fail, and it's going to create a duplicate record with just a tiny little difference, right?
Except that this is an autofill for any modern IDE. It's just going to say, hey, do you want creator first or first to create? And there's going to be no clarity about one versus the other, and there's going to be no enforcement of the rules on why creator first, which has a very strict rule set, operates versus first or create, which has a very loose rule set. Like first or create, I don't want to create a duplicate record. Creator first, I want someone else to decide that I've created a duplicate record, and if I haven't, then make a new one. I have so many issues with this.
Well, then don't use it.
But it's not about me using it. It's about someone who comes into Laravel, autofills first or creator first, and doesn't understand the difference, and the documentation doesn't cover why there's a difference. And or the caveat of like, this is for ACID compliant, aka banking systems. Like,
I wouldn't say aka banking systems. I mean, MySQL is an ACID. Most of the common databases you use are ACID compliant. You don't have to. You don't need
databases, yes, because they have to allow for ACID compliance.
Right, but don't qualify with, because I'm not making a banking solution doesn't mean I'm not using an ACID compliance.
To be ACID compliance, it has to use the ACID compliance of the database. And I understand why this is a thing that people would want, but having it as a core feature of eloquent models instead of an extension to do high performance ACID compliant transactions in models. Also, that's the other thing. Transactions exist. Like, you could do this in transactions. It's just, again, this is Laravel hate time for Tom.
I think you're making a much bigger deal out of that than it actually is.
It's death by 1,000 cuts. This is what I keep seeing with Laravel. Bringing in something that people just go, what the fuck is this for?
Well, I got some Laravel love, but before I get to that, let's go ahead and pull up our supporters on Patreon since nobody else is doing it. I'll go ahead and do that. No, it's fine. You guys relax. I'll take care of it.
Oh, thanks. I'll do that.
I'll undo the top 2 buttons here.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you, Patreon supporters, supporters on Patreon. We do appreciate you. Matter of fact, while we're in this kind of, let's dial back a little bit. We have a show question in our show questions channel from Nindero. I don't know if there's an answer for this. First thing, I guess the first question is, which blue elephant are you talking about? But their question is, does the blue elephant have a name?
All the elephants have names.
They do?
Yes.
Because there's several blue elephants. Does the OG have a name? Or is it just OG?
So there is a PHP.net. No, it's not. There is a list of all of the different elephants that were created. Field guide.
There's
to
elephant.me.
elephants.
Oh, field guide to elephants?
A field guide to elephants. ELEPHPANTS.net. This has all of the elephants that were created with pictures, why it was created, and I guess it's not like Beanie Babies. There's no value listed, but these are all of the elephants that were produced officially by Vincent Pontier, was the original designer.
Do you have to do something to get the blessing of an official elephant?
Actually, you guys know the answer to that better than I do, is that there is an official producer of the PHP elephant with, I believe, like a minimum production of 200?
Yeah,
something like that.
No, it's higher than that.
It's high, yeah. That's who we're using.
So I'd say if you have a blue elephant without text on the side of it, without like saying Zend or something like that, you might have a rare elephant there. If there's no text on the side.
The question is, what is its name? I don't see names on here. I'll add this to the show notes for everybody to see.
I already did. It's under the pictures.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it would be the name of the sponsor or the or the official nickname. Hold on, I'm scrolling to the bottom to see if you guys pirated an elephant.
Well, that's what I was looking at. The last tech one wasn't there. That's why I don't know how we got it. How we have to get on this site. I always go to elephant.me, ELEPHPANT.me, and look at everything there, because that's the ones where people post the ones that they have. It's like you can trade with other people if you have multiples of something, and you actually flag yourself as saying, hey, I have a multiple of this one, I'm willing to trade. So I said I had a multiple of the PHP Architect ones. I have 600 of them.
I have trade Vincent Pontier's shop, but have you seen the paper elephants?
Yeah,
I hadn't.
I actually purchased those. Oh yeah, I don't know if you actually purchased them, but you can send him money for that work. And
you guys have to do that for the next tech. Print them on like little foam like squares and make a little assembly.
Well, the current wife has one of those crickets. I keep wanting to. I need to find them first off. I don't even know where I have them. They're on my Dropbox somewhere.
That is so.
The current wife has a cricket, and I've been wanting to give them the outline for the origami and let them cut it. But yeah. I have all of them.
But the paper ones could be cut into like foam, like coaster mat material, like
Okay.
laser cut or Cricut cut, and you could do that. That's so cool. I love that. There's an orange one. They just call it Toy Orange. It's
All right, so
clear
let's get back to
contact.
the good news from Laravel. Well, I mean, not directly from Laravel, but
Any good news from Laravel? What are you talking about?
Livewire 3.0 was released today.
Right.
Yeah, baby. Livewire 3.0. So that's a thing. You know, I love my Livewire. And it's cool. One of the cooler things about it, I'm trying to remember back to Laracon, but first off, Livewire now is leveraging a lot more of Alpine JS, which is the framework he created, the JavaScript framework he created. Porzio or Caleb Porzio. So that's a thing. This is also where it now auto injects into a Laravel application, so you no longer have to go to your overarching blade and add Livewire scripts and all that.
I think you're minimizing that part a little bit, actually. Is that during the blade rendering process, it checks if there are calls to Livewire elements, and if there are, it auto includes the Livewire JS and CSS. So it's not just that it's like default injected to your whole site. It checks if this part of the site, if this blade template needs it.
All right, cool. But one of the things I thought was cool, and this is one of those, if I was a JavaScript developer, this would probably not be a hard thing to do. I know John's done it in the past, but something that's always been like,
Again, compliment or insult?
no, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. I remember you telling me about this. This is how much attention I pay. I remember you telling me about this. But if again, John's done this in the past. JavaScript people have been doing this for a while, but now you can do it with Livewire components, which is if that component isn't in the viewport, isn't being shown on the screen, it won't render. It'll only render when it's in the viewport, which is like, I love that. Like things like that are just such the nice little touches on websites that it just have always been one of the like I've always had a challenge trying to do those things.
Yeah, you're right. That is extraordinarily old behavior for JS libraries.
Yeah. Like I said, I remember John saying he did it for bowlingball.com, and it was a whole performance. It was
back then. John, I don't know exactly when that was, but like we're looking at like 2007. Like jQuery was king of the hill back then. You have to speak, John. This is a podcast. You can't just nod.
I didn't know you were looking for approval. Yes, 2007. Was that make you feel better?
I was throwing a guess out there.
John, I got another question for you.
There. Yes.
So you're fairly familiar with Doctrine, right?
To a point, yes.
To a point. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they use in their code base.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. You learned something today. We've only been podcasting for about 5 years. Glad to find out you've been paying attention.
It's been like 7.
That's good. Yeah. You're right. It has been probably more like 7. Feels like way more than that. Anyways, working with Symfony, trying to make something with the Symfony framework and using Doctrine. I don't know if this is a Symfony thing or if this is like a everybody who uses Doctrine does it this way. But well, first thing,
I will speak on behalf of everybody that uses Doctrine.
Let me sidetrack real quick because I listened to last week's show and I feel like I said it wrong. Last week, I kept saying attributes when I think I would meant to say annotations. Then I realized I'm not sure I understand the difference.
There's no difference. They're the same thing.
Oh, they are the same thing. Attributes
So-
and annotations are the same thing.
Yeah, so attributes in other languages are what we call in the PHP world annotations.
Annotations, yeah.
No, attributes are a separate thing now, aren't they? There are specific attributes.
So in PHP, we've been using the term attribute as a sort of placeholder for strict typing or read only, write only stuff like that. So there, when the RFC came through for annotations and making them a legitimate thing in PHP 7.1, I think. There was a lot of discussion about the language we should use, and annotations was chosen because Doctrine had already been using the term annotations,
Hmm.
and that's what everyone just settled on as the right thing to call it. But it was a point of contention for a while, like attributes,
Okay.
annotations, comment blocks, stuff like that. It all really means the same thing. It's just it's a linguistic difference.
Okay, so attributes and annotations, either way, I'm not necessarily wrong in saying it. All right. Well, I'm going to say annotations because, like you said, this was a Symfony thing. But in Symfony, in the models, the model of an object, a model knows its database structure because you have all that defined in the annotations for that model.
Right. And
Yes.
the vernacular in Doctrine is entity, right? Not model.
Entity.
Yes.
Isn't it a model though?
Entity is a single existence of a model.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Sure it's a model.
I think
Maybe.
a model is a structure for an entity in a database. I might be wrong there, but
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. No, that was my question. If that was like a regular thing, it's how it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
that's how all of the code
And
for
so-
each thing, it's all annotations of this column is of this type and the database column name is this. So you can break your entity, your model, away from your table structure. You don't have, just because you have something called a first name doesn't have to be first name in the object itself.
Interesting. I am really warming up to annotations. I didn't think I was going to like them, and as I'm using Symfony more, I'm starting to warm up. So the thing I really liked about this, the annotations in the model or entity, you have me questioning it now. I would have to go back and look, but is that now Symfony will generate your migrations for you. You don't have to define your database structure in your migration and then try to remember what it is, in your model, and then have to go back and look at your
I mean, that's
migration.
built into Doctrine, I believe. We don't
Right.
use it, but it's built in there.
Yeah. So that is I'm starting to dig it. Now, again, I'm very early in my Symfony learning. I'm not sure how it handles, and if you know, feel free to share with me how it handles modifications to existing tables. Like you add a column or you change a column from.
So I went to Doctrine from a different active record library. And between those two, we were using active record for a long time. And migrations, going back over a decade, created .sql files that had to be run in all the databases to keep them up to date. I then got them to use Finks, which is from Cake PHP. So that's the migration library that's currently being used. And then since then, we've gone to Doctrine. So we are still using Finks migrations while using Doctrine as the RM and the other active record one.
Oh, interesting.
So not using that.
Okay.
How does it work in Eloquent? Because one of the cool things I like in Doctrine is custom mappings. So like I said, you can change your schema a little bit. You don't have to be strict on following your table schema in your models. At the same time, we often store true false variables as 0 1, right? That
Mhm.
can be a Boolean in your model. Can you do that in Eloquent?
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's a
Yeah.
protected property called casts where you
Okay.
define your
So
structure.
Doctrine has that same thing through those annotations where you can basically cast into not only variables like Boolean or integer or whatever, but into custom enums or custom objects.
Now, from what I understand, Doctrine has some fun behind the scenes tools where if you update the database or update the model, but not vice versa, you can run this Doctrine linter that is like, no, you fucked something up. Something's
Mhm.
not defined properly.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that there's this
Put
idea
that in
in
CI
Doctrine.
and you're good to go.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I love that in Doctrine there's this idea of pre-release, post-release. And like if you have your CI pipeline, your continuous integration pipeline worked out correctly, Doctrine just will be like, hey, no, you screwed something up. It's not going to be a problem now. Might be a problem in the future. Fix it here.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you really picked up on it in Discord. I'm not seeing it, but John, what does look like John's right. It is referred to as entity in Symfony. Well, in Doctrine, Symfony Doctrine.
I don't
Every time I
wrong.
say Symfony, a lot of times I mean Doctrine when talking about the database stuff.
Hey,
All right.
so
You didn't talk. Sorry, I was going to say, Eric, you didn't talk about your heavy, your well responded to Twitter comment from last week.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that is right. Yeah, I took
One
to
of the most
Twitter.
engaging Twitter conversations you've had, you said on there.
It's like 8 responses.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that's not saying a whole lot. What
I
is
thought
that?
it was way more than 8. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's way more than 8. I got distracted
Let 'em
because
win.
somebody called me a important person in the PHP community, and then all other tweets before that just stopped meaning anything to me. Yeah, 3,844 views. We talked last week about writing raw SQL because I've been writing, I've been using Active Record for so long and Eloquent for so long, where I do write where raw clauses. I could not have given you a good example. And I still can't give you a good example of where I've written in code. Now, a lot of people mixed up what I said. I write raw SQL in like data grip when I'm doing searches and stuff.
Sure.
Or at the command line. So a lot of people didn't catch the fact that I was referring to in code in my applications. I couldn't tell you the last time I've written a full raw SQL command.
Can
But to be fair, I'll give you a chance here, Tom. To be fair, I was actually really surprised. It was like a 50-50 split of people saying, I don't write raw SQL anymore at all, to I write raw SQL every day. So I was really kind of shocked to hear how many people still write raw SQL queries in their code. Go ahead.
I was, but you also cater towards the Vim crowd who choose the more difficult path. So I wasn't like accounting for that. The people who really love raw SQL will tell you how much they love it. The people who use Eloquent will like read the thread and just keep going. Personal opinion. But as far as like raw SQL, if you're in a reporting situation where you have these custom group bys and custom sorts, Laravel can't handle it. You have to order by raw. You have to do tricks as far as MySQL methods that are common, but not part of Eloquent. MySQL can do where between for 2 dates, but if you need to know if it's between 2 months, not 2 exact timestamps, it can't handle it quite as well. So there's a lot of places to still write raw SQL, but I was really surprised because, man, you posted a video. I know this is trailing way off topic, but you posted a video of Pulse, Prime,
The Primogen?
the Primogen,
Yeah.
doing a reaction video to "Is PHP dead?"
No, he says PHP doesn't suck
PHP doesn't suck anymore. So last week we talked about a video that came out called "PHP Doesn't Suck Anymore." The Primogen, who I had heard of but never really followed, did a reaction video to it, and it was made my fucking day.
Did you watch the video?
I watched the whole thing. I swear.
I got to be honest with you. I did a reply to somebody who had posted it a few days back, actually last week before our last week's show. But I didn't watch the video because I just assumed I've watched enough of the Primogen's videos and understands his take on PHP to kind of know it's okay, this guy's trolling us.
Nope.
Everybody's going to watch this video and he's going to, he's being sarcastic or something. So I didn't watch the actual video, if I can be quite honest with you, until today. I watched it today.
You listed it in the Trello. I pulled it up just because I wanted to know what you're talking about. I saw 45 minutes and I was like, yeah, I got 45 minutes.
25 minutes.
Was it?
He was
So the live
genuinely
stream was 2 hours.
I feel like he was genuinely
Absolutely
taken back by PHP.
Yeah.
And enjoying it.
The first thing he said was traits. Hold on, I have to situate myself to address this video because I did not think they were going to start off that strong. It is a great video. I love that he's got Taylor's Lamborghini in the thumbnail.
That's not Taylor's. Taylor's is orange.
Oh, that's
right. I hate the fact that I know that, but
actually, it's a custom Laravel color that his wife got made for him. So, anyways, I watched this video, and here's the thing. In the video, he reacts to the performance aspect, where the original video says, "Hey, it doesn't scale to 50,000 requests per second unless you start really tweaking some stuff. But are you doing 50,000 requests per second? You're not. Shut up." And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about the ORMs. Is I'm not dealing with 50,000 requests per second. I might actually be, but still, if the ORM can handle it and it shaves 3 days off of your debug time or doesn't add technical debt, use the fucking ORM.
Right.
Save yourself the headache of raw SQL that has a far greater rate of human error in it. The ORMs eliminate a large amount of human error, let alone security issues with injectable value.
Right. That's always been
true.
my biggest thing. Yeah.
True.
And I can't get into it, but perfectly executed security on a query is still not perfect.
Yep.
You can absolutely do everything right, and a raw SQL query is more vulnerable than an ORM version of the exact same thing because it has type checks, linting, trimming, and things that you just don't want to care about handled for you. One of the big things that I found out about Laravel is that there's a middleware that just trims every input. Everything that actually hits your server is trimmed. Why would you know or care? You wouldn't.
Because I wanted that space at the end of my friggin' sentence. Why'd you take it away from me? Bastard.
So I understand that the like raw SQL gives me more control, gives me a greater understanding of what it is I'm trying to execute. But shit, I cannot read 100-line MySQL statement because a join takes 8 lines. If you establish a relationship in a model and you call that relationship, at least I know that that's what you're doing.
But it's often not performant.
But it is performant. It's performant enough.
Not in all cases.
You're not getting 50,000 records per second. And where it's not performant, at least in this case, Laravel and Doctrine, they fix that problem. They say, yeah, this isn't performant because of the way we're doing this join or this relationship. We've tried to figure out how to make it better. We've improved it. But you get that performance when you upgrade to the next thing.
No, I'm talking about when it comes to certain reports and how you join tables that you don't do on a daily basis. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's where I write custom SQL queries, is reports.
Okay, then we're on the same page. I thought you were saying no.
I'm just saying that to use to daily drive
raw
MySQL is a waste of your time. Yeah. To try and reestablish a relationship between two tables that have a strong indexed relationship every time you want to make that query is a waste of your time. And your time is just as valuable as CPU cycles. It drives me nuts people thinking I'm going to shave 0.5 of a hundredth of a second off of this query. Like, you should be taking 20% off a query if you're going to make a change.
No, yeah. We're on the same page. All right.
I'm a little.
But John, did you watch the video?
No, I because I clicked on the clip, so it kept going back to the same spot, and then the show started.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I had posted 2 of my favorite clips about, I think it was on 8:20 tonight, where the first one he starts screaming about how he's shook, and then I can't even tell you how many times he talked about having a PHPgasm. PHPgasm.
I will say, I'm very bothered by the fact that this one video has more views than any of our podcasts ever combined.
Yeah, all of our podcasts.
He's got some followers.
Yeah, I like to think we're entertaining.
Not as entertaining as he is.
No.
Well, he also streams like every day or a couple times a week for hours.
Yeah, about coding.
He's a machine.
141,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
What are we doing wrong besides having me as one of
We're podcasting at midnight, at like the worst time of day for most of the world, except for Buttery maybe. And we're doing it once a week. So
he has a video called "Don't Use an ORM," which has 71,000 views. I want to like stop podcasting now, just because. What are we supposed to do?
We're just having fun anyway. Yeah. But we can realize we're running long, and we'll talk about tech next week because we didn't get to it this week.
His most recent video.
Are we sharing more tech secrets?
His most recent
next
video,
week.
He got a Kinesis keyboard, the one you guys had 3 years ago. So he just unboxed a Kinesis keyboard, which you guys talked about 3 years ago and got 20,000 views. I'm sorry.
I actually have my Kinesis key. I'm back to my old Advantage 2 right now because I love my Advantage 360, which is the new Bluetooth Kinesis keyboard, the modular one. I know John we're killing John here. John so wants to end this. I was like ready to send this back today. I haven't shared it with you guys, and maybe we'll talk about it next week. But my relationship with my 360 is so much a love-hate relationship right now. And the people over at Kinesis actually talked me off the ledge today and said, hey, listen, we're going to get this working. Let me help you. I'm going to send you some firmware. I'm like, all right, dude. But I had already opened up a RM. Is it called an RM? Whatever, you return to manufacturer. Yeah, RM.
RMA.
RMA. I had already opened an RMA from like 4 months ago when I was having an issue. Still had it. I'm like, hey, is this RMA still good? Because I'm sending this back. And he's like, listen, wait a second. You can send it back, but let me try to help you through this. He's like, we've done the numbers on this since we've released it. And our failure rate on that hardware is so small that I can almost guarantee you there's nothing wrong with your keyboard. We just need probably fix the software, and let me help you with that. So they talked me off the ledge. I'll try to do it tomorrow. Maybe next week I'll have better things to say about it. But I love this keyboard when it's working. I can pair it with 4 devices. So I'll pair it with my main system, my laptop, my iPad, and it's great. And my mouse is the same way. I can pair my mouse with three different systems. So when I move to like my laptop out in the living room because it's too hot in my office, I'll scoop up my Kinesis, I'll scoop up my mouse, I'll flip it over to the second pairing, and I'm off and running again. I love that. And I love how it feels, but there's this Bluetooth issue that goes on between it that drives me nuts. And like I said, if you guys are interested, we'll talk about it more next week. But
sounds good.
I know we need to wrap it up today. This has been episode 349. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I am 6'3", 215 pounds.
Okay.
Keep it ugly.
Keep
it ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it, my words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it, you know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly, we ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
All right. That was a great show, guys.
Yeah.
Good one. We actually have show notes and everything this week. NorCal Kid, I did see your earlier comment in Discord. You have nothing to fear. Midjourney, first thing, is horrible with our faces. So there's that. But it cannot do text. It cannot do text to save its life.
No.
So your position is is absolutely fine. But we might generate some backgrounds or something for fun. We'll see.
So Eric, You asked me, because I mentioned my smart garage last week, what the brand of it was, so you
Oh,
could buy
right.
it.
Yeah.
And that sent me down a shame spiral that I'm still not entirely recovered from. Which is that since I bought this house, my first house, my whole thing was like, make it a smart house. Like, do all the smart integrations. And everything has failed completely.
Oh,
Everything.
it's so hard. It's so hard finding that like integration tool that's going to work for all your needs.
So
I actually fucked up recently because
they're
I had to
working on
move.
a standard.
Well, that's the thing about it. There is a standard, just nobody wants to use it. Everybody wants you to use their service
No.
to
So
use your camera or something.
So the new thing is Matter, Matter. And Matter is like a common API for smart home devices. There's no like
See,
central
that's the
app.
thing.
It's just a
Nobody's going to use it because everybody
Well,
wants
they
to
are.
lock you into their brand.
But that's failing because so many of these items are getting RMA'd back because they promise more than they deliver. And at least with an API, you can say it meets this API's standards for cameras, for doorbells, for thermostats. Like it meets the standard, and it has to meet the Matter standard. It's like USB. It has to meet the standard to call itself a USB cable. Now, that's gotten screwed up in the last couple of years, but I have like a 3-camera system. I have a smart garage now. I have a smart thermostat. And I have a fingerprint lock for my office. Every single one of those things has been a gross disappointment except for the fingerprint lock, which was RMA'd back for a manufacturing error. And I got the new one and it's great. But the garage door opener, the MyQ garage door opener, had the feature where you could say, Alexa, open the garage door, or you could have an if this then that function that opened the garage door, which you could create a geofence with. So when I was within range of my garage, open it. When I parked, close it. But they had tied in their system the Alexa integration and the API so closely that when they decided it was a security issue to have Alexa able to open your door, they turned off the ability to open the door for any third-party service whatsoever.
Oh, so how does that Amazon service work where you can give them access to open up your garage?
So they have a magic clicker when they show up at your house.
Oh, I got a magic clicker.
And
I didn't even bring
I
this up.
know, I saw it last week.
Got
I
my
hate you so
flipper.
much.
Got my flipper.
It's basically that. It's just coated with a special key. It's a special key where they ask what the code is to open the garage door, and it operates. And I'm sure they got millions of dollars to include that as part of their API. But I can't open my door. I can open it through the app, but I can't open it through any other third-party apps. I know about the lockpicking lawyer, and it's a giant glass door anyways, so my general rule with how secure your house is how big is the largest piece of glass in your house.
Yeah, that's always been my thing. Somebody wants to break in your house, they're going to break in.
Yeah, so it's to deter children from wandering into my office and doing what children do. Yeah. Just play with the shiniest new thing. Or also, like, it makes a beep before it unlocks the door, so pull my pants up if I hear the beep. But the cameras I have are these like, they're cheap cameras. They're battery powered because I didn't want to run power lines to them.
That was the mistake I made. I got the Google one just to watch the back door for when the current dog wants to get out.
Yeah.
Toast wants to get out, and it was like, because it was set to trigger whenever it sensed an animal walking in front of it. It was triggering all day long, which was fine, but I would have to watch it when the current wife was sleeping. I would watch the back door to see when she's going back there to try to go out. Like, she's not very good at making a noise or coming and getting me. So I would watch it, and like I was charging it like every other day. I'm like, this sucks.
So mine are even worse. They're the Blink cameras, and the Blink cameras are only active when the system is armed, which means that there's a whole host of notifications you get on your phone whenever there's movement of any kind on any of your cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn off all the notifications, but in most cases when you do that, now it's not recording when there's movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the photo's not updating on the app. It's just the last photo that it took the last time the system was active, and you told it to take a photo. They are absolutely useless for anything other than last-ditch home security.
I got something even more infuriating for you. And if anybody else out there is a ADT client, I would love to hear
ADT?
ADT.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your experience with this. I have cameras. I have multiple cameras around my house that ADT installed. I'm not super paranoid, but it's a nice to have. Long story short, you set them all up to trigger for events, people passing by or anything like that. Kind of the same thing, right? If they trigger, they record. They record for a certain amount of time, and then they stop after a while, which I don't understand. I don't understand that. It's like, okay, so I only get like 30 seconds of a recording, and half the time it doesn't start recording like when I want it to start. But that's a whole nother story. The thing that infuriates me is that I'm only allowed a certain amount of recordings a month on my account. Then it disables all of them and doesn't re-enable. First thing, that alone is horrible. So if you want to break into my house, break in at the end of the month, because the cameras aren't recording you anymore, because I always meet my limit. But then the beginning of the next month, they don't re-enable automatically. I have to go in the beginning of each month and re-enable all my cameras.
So this is
infuriating.
The thing, is that it's all shit until you get to commercial grade. And that's where Ubiquity, like, if you're on the Home Lab subreddit, as I am, obviously, isn't it beautiful? I took the front off so you can see the blinky lights. If you're on the Home Lab subreddit, nobody uses these consumer grade products. Nobody. Because everyone buys them and throws them away because all of them are garbage. You have to get an IPTV camera that is always recording, sending it to a server that's always watching, and then you have to use some kind of baseline AI to detect animals and people and cars and stuff like that. And you can do your own thing with it at that point. But all of the consumer grade stuff is complete fucking garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And my doorbell is one of these Blink doorbells, and I bought it because it's got like a 2-year life off of 2 AA batteries or something like that. But it gets that by being a completely useless product. So when you push the doorbell button on my front door, about 10 seconds later, my doorbell rings. Because there's a polling rate. This is the base unit. There's a polling rate for these units. One of them says, I saw something, and then the base unit says, I polled you, you said you saw something, let's start recording. So way after anything valuable has passed, I get a notification and a video of a UPS truck driving away. Drives me insane. And I spent so much money because the promise for the consumer is you don't have to change batteries every few months. It's 2 years. And so they take a Raspberry Pi Nano, they take a free or a $1 board, stick two AA's on it, and just screw the consumer with these false promises.
Can I ask just a quick question? Now I had to have a solution like that on my old house because it was an older house. But
Well, because you bought a stolen scooter, so you had people coming after you.
but most homes, the doorbell bringer has enough current through it to support these cameras. Does yours not have that?
Mine didn't. I had to add a transformer to it.
Funny story.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Funny story.
Let me hear it.
I moved into this house and they had a Honeywell.
Oh, I'm sorry, real fast before you start. This is last 3 minutes to get into show title. We got a lot of good title suggestions in here, but I'm gonna kill the bot here so that I can try to figure this out. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, do you want to start running the bot on my servers? My stuff's stable enough now. It's open to the.
Do you have Tailscale where I can log into it?
I have Headscale.
Oh, you got the Headscale running? Gotta talk about that next week.
I don't know why I lied.
Okay, talk about whatever the hell you were talking about.
Now I don't remember.
Lambda, by the way, I kept trying
yes,
to.
Lambda.
Lambda was what I was trying to say to you. Yeah.
No, I really forgot now. Damn it. I'm a little worried I divulged too much about our internal environment on this episode.
Oh, I don't think so.
But I'll find out tomorrow. Yes. Thank you, Rebecca, Bex, Honeywell. So we had a wireless.
Yeah.
We had a wireless thermostat in the house when we bought it, and we pulled it off the wall, and there were wires behind it, but they weren't enough wires to power the smart thermostat that I bought. And wiring for thermostats is a pain in the ass, so the guy that we hired to do it was like, well, if you're not going to use a doorbell ringer, I'll just take the wires that are powering the doorbell ringer and route them directly to the thermostat because it's the same 12-volt line that you need. So he disconnected that, and then the doorbell that was already on the house stopped working, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. And I realized what I had done.
Flushing.
Realized what I had done, and so I had to replace the doorbell, the video doorbell that I was excited to use, with the video doorbell that was battery powered and was not super excited about. So, yes, there were wires that could perfectly power a good doorbell, and I took them and I ruined them.
Good man. I'm pretty sure.
You don't have any power near your doorbell or your thermostat?
Have you seen how tightly coupled doorbells are to the walls of your house?
Yeah, I had to do this.
You've had to replace the doorbell where there's no wires and they just had to add them.
Well, no, there are wires there. I had to put a
Right.
transformer in to add power.
I had wires there, but they don't carry any current because they're connected to nothing.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have power near the other end. Like, you realize a wire has two ends, right? So the other end, it's not anywhere near power where you can.
No, because for doorbells, classically, it was two wires that went all the way across your house to the bell mechanism.
Yes.
And the button was just a temporary switch.
Right.
But you could only wire that when you built the house.
But you have the wires there, is what I'm saying.
But I
They're
cut
wires.
the wires.
But there's another end to them.
Not anymore.
You just cut them. You didn't remove the wires. What am I missing? Am I missing something?
You're
Yeah.
missing the fact that you're talking to Tom Rideout. That's what you're missing.
You take those two wires, you put them onto a transformer, and you plug that transformer into a wall.
Oh, I also don't have that, no.
I'm pretty sure A Woods fell asleep during the show this week.
No, read his first title. He said he was making way for Buttery to carry it.
Oh,
Very cheating.
Right.
Yeah, so the thermostat that I received, I couldn't get it to connect to a wireless network. And I know I've told this story before, but after 2 weeks of trying everything I could, like 2.4 gigahertz versus 5 gigahertz versus AES encryption or AES2 encryption, like after everything, I called them and said, hey, this shit just doesn't work. And I got escalated surprisingly quickly to engineering support. And they were like, yeah, this product has been on the market for 3 months. And whatever it is that's happening to you is because of a hardware problem, and we want to see it ourselves. So we're going to send you a brand new one, and you send us back the old one, please. And they did, and the brand new one I hooked up, and it immediately worked perfectly. And the old one I sent back to them, and like it had something was wrong with the Wi-Fi chip that was on board it, or like something was on the firmware. It just did not work. It saw the Wi-Fi network but could not connect to it. The lock on my office door worked for 2 days and then just stopped working. I RMA'd it and got the same exact model back again, put it on the door. It's worked ever since perfectly. I love it. The garage.
How was Legoland, John?
It was fun. No, I don't
Let's
know
not
what
talk about that.
No, I don't know what I divulged last week, but I got free tickets to go to Legoland for 2 days, 1 night, stay at the hotel, which is not a cheap stay. And the last minute, staycation in town, and got to hang out with the kids and the wife for a couple days. It was nice. The kids had a blast.
Is this your Cal Twitter card?
Yeah. Did I put it in there, right?
It was up next, but you had it at the bottom under. I need to.
Oh, I didn't move that over. I meant to. It's just a.
Well, we didn't talk about it. Let's save it for next week so we can talk.
Yeah.
It reminds us to talk about tech. I need to move
works.
these over since we're not. We're kind of remembering to talk about our sponsors. Oh, Tom walked away again. Okay. All right. Okay, bot is going down. Thank you for all the fantastic title suggestions. I have already pitched an idea to NorCal Kid, and it seems like they have embraced it.
Look at this side channeling stuff.
Hmm?
Said, look at you side channeling things.
Oh, because I'm not trying to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Trying to get these wheels in motion, John. Gotta get the wheels in motion. Good night, champ. Hey, champ, you did catch on the fact that we have our dates for tech next year, so you need to mark your calendar. Mark that calendar, brother. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. Mark it now. Mark it now. Hey, we'll talk about that after we hang up.
I'm assuming Tom is talking to somebody else and not us.
Oh,
probably.
nope. First time.
Champ,
Yeah.
go to the PHP Tech Twitter handle. We don't have the website up yet. We're working on that right now. But go to the PHP Tech Twitter handle and all the information's there.
The first time that I had to step away from the podcast, my wife went to bed, put the dog in the kennel. The dog started whining. Had to take care of that. Let the dog out. Trusted it wouldn't be a problem. The second time I went out, came out to the dog passed out on the couch, totally fine, with my wife's book on meditation everywhere.
Dude, it meditated the fuck out of him. He fell asleep.
It was like titled like The Calm Mind or something like that. And it now covers the entire living room.
That's when you show that page to your wife saying, honey, now read this. Read this before.
According to this sentence, you should learn to let things go. Whoopsie.
Wow, we still got 8 people with us. Wow, that's a new one.
I am going to Mountain
The
View.
current wife is on it. What's that?
I'm going to Mountain View on the 10th, so I will be recording remotely for that episode.
Do you know where Mountain View is now?
Someone was nice enough to post a picture of it on
A map.
Yeah. So I do kind of understand where it is now. Although if you were to ask me what states were north, south, east, or west from me, I could not tell you.
Really? Of Colorado?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you don't travel a lot, so I mean, if you don't go into the state, why do you care?
It's very generous to say I don't travel a lot.
It's in the middle of the country, like all those states start to blend together. Who knows?
Yeah, mine's the square.
They're all squares. That's the problem.
Mine's
middle.
literally just a square. It's the easiest like souvenir to get. It's like a magnet of my state.
It's a square.
It's just a square.
Oh boy. All right.
We did not talk about Baldur's Gate 3.
I don't know what a Baldur's Gate 3 is.
Very easily the best video game ever created.
Oh, well, that's
Save it for Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
We're not recording. We don't have to listen to it.
Oh, we forgot to mention to the 8 people still listening, there is a PHP podcast out on the PHP
I
Architect
saw that.
YouTube channel. I haven't released the audio one. I gotta remember to do that this weekend, actually. Yeah, so there's a PHP podcast out.
So on the Trello, do you guys see my FRVR Project Forge video? If not, I'm posting it in
Trello.
I'm posting it in Discord.
What is with your kids and are they right about the game, Tom?
Yes.
Oh.
What game? Wait, what? What did I miss?
Baldur's Gate.
Is that
Baldur's
the
Gate
game
3.
where you can customize your... why do you know this?
Those are not the only options for penis. There are dozens of options.
Yeah, FRVR?
Yeah, so this is just a trailer. Assume that it is a best of cut of a longer stream, but it is the intention of this company to do prompt-driven video game development. And it starts to get really crazy at the 45-second mark.
Okay. Still waiting. Yeah, that does look like a video game I would have grown up with, too.
So this is their tech demo. Dude, this Primogen guy, I am
I was actually very
so
thrilled.
jealous.
You want to be jealous? Primogen is not your typical. Go look at fucking Steve's numbers. Fucking Steve has like 5,000 subscribers to our 500. But again, it's the same thing. He's always streaming. He's always sharing. He streams for hours at a time, and that's what it is. You've got to get on and stream. That's all. And again, it doesn't help where most of the U.S. is in bed by the time we start streaming. I mean, that's a thing. But even then, it's like we're not streaming code. We're just three guys talking. It's I can barely stand to listen to it. I didn't realize that bothered you so much. I have wanted to be more confident about streaming my code. Like when I'm redoing.
You can. I can't.
Well, you can too if you let me finish. When I'm redoing PHP Roundtable's website, PHP Tech TV, things like that. But the problem I have with it is I never feel like I have like 2 hours or 3 hours that I'm going to sit down and do it. I feel like I have like a half hour or an hour. I'm going to do some coding and then I got something else that I got to do. But I need to plan that better because I would like to do that. I enjoy the interaction we have on the show.
I'll tell you what, like the video, the PHP Doesn't Suck video is like so heartening to watch.
I did enjoy watching it.
But then 2 days before that, one day before that, he did ORM versus raw SQL, and it got 71,000 views, and I was like, bro, what the fuck?
But again,
are you just listening to what we do and then like making hits off of it?
That's like one of his reaction videos is only one thing that he does, right? He has big coding sessions and all that. Like his channel isn't just reaction videos to other languages. He's legit. I mean, he works at Netflix. He has a whole drug backstory that he's shared several times. And
right, but in all honesty, the Tron Gate fucking situation, could we not get like a million viewers off of just an hours long live roast of the, like, we don't want to do that. That's not what we do. And when we get too deep into it, we always stop ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I did just decide like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to pick a fight with this guy on my Twitch channel. And we're going to go word for word over how insane his manifesto is, and that he used videos of us. I feel like if I just had the patience, I could do something like this, like what Primogen is doing.
He was another one. Look at his numbers. He's got a ton of followers.
But we don't make people happy. Our podcast is not about the circle jerk. We criticize the circle jerk.
Mhm.
And the thing that made Trongate guy famous was CodeIgniter tutorials.
Well, he found his niche.
Yeah,
The
but
right
our
word.
niche is not that
But
big.
So
I mean,
are you
got-
doing this
got-
trying to?
got
Are
me
you
a
doing
great
this
job.
trying to blow up and trying to be an influencer, or are you doing it just
You want to be an
to hang out on
influencer,
things?
Tom? Is that why you're dressing like that? Is that why you're wearing this shirt? You want to be an influencer?
The truth comes out.
You didn't even talk about that. I wanted to talk about, man, we had such a deep show today. I love shows like this week.
Well,
But
I have a new outfit coming in the mail tomorrow, so we can do it next week.
Wear it next week. And I really hope they're overalls.
If that's what you really want, I have overalls. No, I just we always establish we're doing this for ourselves and for like hanging out because we live in.
But it doesn't sound like it's
Remote
enough
work.
for you, Tom.
No, I want to be stupid rich. Is that not coming through correctly? In case that wasn't clear, my goal is to get stupid rich.
Well, I mean, you got the
Based
stupid
entirely-
part down. You
It's
nailed the stupid
entirely
part.
off my opinion. If I can get stupid rich by being opinionated, I will be so happy.
You can. You totally can. Hell,
I mean-
you were supposed to do your own doom and gloom podcast, remember? Let's get that going.
Did I ever tell you why I didn't do it?
No.
It got too
think so.
much.
Start taking the happy pills.
No, it got too much. Like, there's too much. It was. Not to get political, but that Doom and Gloom, the whole Doom and Gloom series that we did, stopped when Trump got elected. Because it was too real. Shit was just all doom and gloom. Net neutrality got killed. Like, we forget that. But, like, net neutrality is not a thing anymore. Hasn't been for 6 years. And it's just, it's too dark out there to, like, dig into it. You know, I still read the doom and gloom the sub channel we have. But it's too dark. I don't want to live with that. And you know, and that was also like right around the time that your kids started hitting the Discord channel. And your kids are like such a ray of optimism and sunshine. And yeah, Handmaid's Tale, perfect example. The episode in the second season where there's bullet holes in the printing press factory was the last episode I watched. Like, I have friends who are journalists. I was a journalist. It was too dark. It was too much. Sorry. It's just, yeah, I can't do doom and gloom anymore. I still follow all my old sources and stuff, but
All right, we're wrapping
All
up.
right, we got to stop the. Yeah, we got. I'm in charge here, John. Just relax. Okay, I got this. I got to stop the stream, everybody. I need to start editing. It's getting late. So, thanks for hanging out with us, and bye.